Alright, so today, on day 4 of a year of painting, I am painting a Saurus warrior from the Seraphon faction of Age of Sigmar, formerly the Lizard Men. And I'm starting off with a shyish purple contrast paint. I'm painting that all over the skin and the scales pretty much indiscriminately, trying to keep it off of things like the shield and the horns and the spear. But if a little bit does get on, I'm using a lot of layer paint on these, so that'll cover it up just fine. I'm then moving on to the shield, and I'm using Sybarite Green for this. It's a layer paint, and I'm just coating the shield entirely with that. Basically, I'm trying two different styles of painting, one on the shield, one on the skin, so we're going to see how that goes. Then I go on to Wildwood for the spear shaft. Then I use some Screaming Skull on the horns, his crest, his toenails, and the blade of the spear. I'm now using that same color on his teeth. Now I'm doing a second layer of the Sybarite Green. The first layer usually doesn't cover over the white primer very well, so I usually have to do a second layer. I've now moved on to Genestealer Purple, and with that I'm picking out each individual scale on the skin. This is where the two different paint styles come in. On the skin I'm doing contrast, then layer, then highlight. And on the shield, I'm doing layer, then contrast, then highlight. So I'm seeing how that differs. I figured this is a great miniature to try it on, since scales lend themselves so well to contrast paint. So then I'm moving back to the shield and putting a Hellion Green all over the shield. And then I'm taking some paper towel and just wiping away the contrast on the upper parts of the scales, and just leaving it in the recesses. Now moving on to Skarsnik Green, another layer paint. I'm using this to highlight the scales, basically just painting the top third or so of each scale in this color, on the shield specifically. And then on to Fulgrim Pink, and I'm using that to highlight the scales on his shoulders and on the tops of his legs. You could go through and highlight every scale if you wanted. I just did the scales that people are going to see the most when the miniature is on the table. Now moving on to Retributor Armor. Everything that's metal on this guy is being done in this color. In my mind, Lizardmen have a lot of Aztec influences, and the Aztecs, as far as I understand, didn't have silver metal technology rather, in like iron or steel. And so I did all the metal on this miniature in gold. Now moving on to Pallid Witch Flesh, and I'm just highlighting all the bone bits in this color. Then on to Troll Slayer Orange, just doing the eyeballs. And then on to Grey Knight Steel, highlighting the gold with this, just to make it look a little shinier than it is straight out of the pot. Then a couple touch-ups with the Genestealer Purple. And now we're moving on to the base. So to start off, I'm using a Cygor Brown contrast paint. Then I'm getting some basic green flock and just using the Cygor Brown as the glue, essentially, to hold that on. Now I'm getting some tufts and some aquarium bits from the pet store, and I'm just gluing them on as a sort of jungle theme kind of base. Just making sure to have a good variance of elements, as well as fill up the base appropriately. So now I'm taking some Militarum green contrast paint, and I'm painting the plastic plants with this, just because without any paint on them, they really scream plastic plant, and you don't really want that. So now I'm adding some Scarsnet green to highlight on top of that, again, just to further that, making them look less like plastic plants. Now I'm adding a little bit of Skeleton Horde contrast on top of that, of the bone that is, just to give them a little bit of shade. And then Cygor Brown around the base rim, and he's done. Here are just some final shots of the miniature, all dried and sitting in the photo booth. Hope you guys enjoyed. Only 362 days to go on this hobby goal of mine. Thank you everybody for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.